12 Brothers. Once there was a king and queen who had 12 sons. One day the king said to the queen, "If our 13th child is a girl, we must imprison our sons and give all our land and possessions to our daughter." This made the queen very sad, so she came up with a plan for her sons. "You must run away into the woods and find somewhere to hide where no one can find you." So the brothers ran away and found a magic house in the woods, where they lived for the next 10 years. Meanwhile, the king and queen had a baby girl. She grew up to be good and kind, and always wore a gold star on her head. One day, when she was 16 years old, the princess noticed 12 white shirts drying on the washing line. She asked her mother who the shirts belonged to. The queen replied, "My dear, those shirts belong to your 12 brothers." The queen told the princess how her brothers had been forced to run away when she was a baby, and the queen began to cry. "Please don't cry, mother," said the princess. "I will go and find my brothers." She took the 12 shirts and bravely set off into the woods. The princess walked all day, and by night came to the house in the woods where her brothers lived. They asked her who she was and why she was there. When the princess told them her story, the princes said they were her long-lost brothers. So they all lived happily in the house in the woods, until one day something happened. There was a garden around the house where 12 tall white flowers grew. The princess wanted to give each brother a flower, so she picked them from the garden. But as soon as she did this, the brothers turned into ravens. They flew away over the woods, leaving their sister alone. Suddenly, the princess saw an old woman standing nearby, so she asked, "How can I break the spell and free my brothers?" The old woman said, "You must not speak or make any sound for 7 years." So the poor princess began her lonely life of silence. One day, a few years later, a king came riding past the house and noticed the beautiful princess with a gold star on her head as she walked in the garden. He asked her to be his wife, but as the princess couldn't talk, she simply nodded and went with the king to his palace, where they were married. The king's mother didn't like the beautiful princess. She said nasty things about her to the king. At first, the king didn't believe his mother, but because the princess couldn't speak and tell her husband the truth, he began to believe what his mother said. At last, he decided to send the princess to prison. Just as the guards arrived to take the princess, the 7 years came to an end. The spell was broken. Suddenly, 12 ravens flew down from the sky. The ravens turned back into the princess's brothers as they landed, and they quickly set their sister free. At last, the princess could speak, and she told the king her story. The king was so happy when he heard that all the things his mother had said were not true. His mother was sent away, and everyone lived happily ever after.